And how beautiful for a kid who is so used to having pokes and medicine that tastes yucky and just these very transactional experiences with their care team to be able to go on the horse with their like nurse who gave them meds earlier or like go fishing with the doc that looked them over. I mean, I don't know how you can better integrate the medical community into a medically complex child's world.
And we know that it's healing for us to be able to see our patients be children. It's hard. It's our job to get kids through the hospital stays, the pokes, the procedures. It's rejuvenating, and it regains our sense of well-being and purpose to volunteer at camp. And so the gift of being able to fish with a child that you helped through a medical crisis is as important for the provider as it is for the child.
I saw it at the hand washing station at the entrance of the NICU. I see it in the playroom during medical play bingo. I see it near the fish tank in the surgery waiting room. There is a powerful unspoken language between two parents who have never met, but know in their deepest soul what the inside of a children's hospital feels like. It is joy and it is grief. It is love and it is fear. It is miracles and it is loss. This podcast exists to tell these stories. I'm Katie Taylor, a very proud child life specialist, and it is my honor to be your host of Inside the Children's Hospital. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Inside the Children's Hospital. I'm Katie Taylor, a certified child life specialist. Picture this, a child on oxygen ziplining with the longest O2 tube you've ever seen, while their pediatric cardiologist stands below in a tutu and a bucket hat cheering them on. That's the magic of medically supported camps. Places where children with serious illnesses finally get to just be kids. Today, I'm talking with Dr. Laura Blaisdell, Chief Medical Officer at SeriousFun, who has spent 20 years creating these experiences for children across the globe. And Jamie Gentille, who was once that terrified 10-year-old camper being driven 7 hours to the hole-in-the-wall gang camp, convinced she couldn't manage her own medications while she was away from home. Jamie is now a child life specialist, and she'll tell you that camp made her the person she is today. This conversation is about what becomes possible when the world adapts to our children instead of constantly asking our children to adapt to the world. It's about medical facilities hidden behind pine trees, about kids who finally get to say their diagnosis out loud and feel safe, and about the healing that happens for medical professionals when they see their patients thrive. We talk about Paul Newman's vision to create a place where kids could raise a little hell, those sacred cabin chat moments under the stars, and friendships that last a lifetime. If you're a parent wondering if your medically complex child could have that camp experience, this story is for you. And if you're a healthcare professional who needs to see your patients be kids, not just patients, this is for you too. You can learn more about SeriousFun Camps at seriousfun.org, and we've created a free resource at childlifeoncall.com/summercamps with a growing directory of specialized camps across the U.S. Here's my conversation with Dr. Laura Blaisdell and Jamie Gentille. Dr. Blaisdell, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about you, who you are as a person, what your personal mission is, your family, and all of that good stuff.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Dr. Laura Blaisdell. I'm a board certified public health trained practicing pediatrician, so I still see children in primary care. I married into a camp family and was recruited as the camp medical director some 20 years ago. So I've been working as a camp medical director for my husband's boys' summer camp, which is not a medical specialty camp, but I had a lot of experience in camp that way and joined SeriousFun as their chief medical officer about 3 years ago now, and have been working with camps all over the globe to provide medically safe and fun camp experiences for kids with serious medical illnesses. I will add, I am also a mother. Neither of my children have serious medical diseases, but I think being a mother adds a component to understanding both the camp experience and the medical experience as a physician.
Absolutely. Did you get to go to camp as a child?
It was I grew up in the Midwest, and so camp wasn't a big I mean, there is a camp culture, but not as big here on the East Coast. I'm calling in from Portland, Maine. But I did do like tennis camp and band camp and leadership camp. So definitely in the nerd camp type of category. But never did the sleepaway camp that I now try to, make sure that all kids have the experience to get.
I love that. Well, so honored to have you here. Thank you so much. Jamie, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Of course. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Jamie Gentille. I am by training a child life specialist, and I run our child life services for Inova Health System in Virginia. I myself have a lot of experience with medical camps as a camper myself, and then going up to being a counselor and a unit leader through the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp up in Ashford, Connecticut. So my experience with camp was very much no thank you because I am not an outdoors person. But then once I learned about how amazing this place was, and we can get into that later, but just the what makes this place so unique, what makes Hole in the Wall so unique, I was all in for it, and my parents could not get me home. So I've been really, really lucky to see the full circle impact of being a kid with very complex medical needs, not being able to go to regular outdoor camp when I was a kid. And while I didn't miss the outdoors, I did miss the camaraderie, and that was a really significant thing that I missed out on that left a mark when I was a kid. And so turning that into getting to go to a camp that's made for kids just like me, and it'd be okay and it'd be safe and I didn't have to be scared. It was without a doubt life changing, completely changed the trajectory of who I was as a person, who I was going to become. That's where I learned about child life. So my it is my true home, and will always be a part of my heart.
That's so profound. And I keep thinking about your parents, Jamie, dropping you off for that first camp experience. As you know, I have such a heart for, of course, children and families. I'm a child life specialist. But like you said, Dr. Blaisdell, becoming a mom really just changes the way you approach what your profession is. And for me, I think about your mom and your dad dropping you off a medically complex kiddo, as precious
Mhm.
as you are and outgoing as you are, that there was probably some nerves there. And I don't know if your parents have talked to you about it. And then Dr. Blaisdell, I would love to hear how you help parents feel comfortable with just the even idea of letting go for a whole week.
Yeah. Yeah, I can jump in and kind of speak to my own experience. It took some time to convince me for sure. And it was one of the things that we had an amazing, amazing therapist where I was receiving care, and she knew about Hole in the Wall and she suggested it to my family. And I just wasn't ready. My mom and my dad both wanted me to have all of these experiences, but I was I mean, being HIV positive as a kid, you are a little secret. You can't
Yeah.
talk to anybody, you can't tell anybody. Medication was so incredibly strict and regimented, and it had to be like to the hour, to the minute, on empty stomachs. It was very complicated. I was like, there's no way I will be able to do this not in my own home. And finally, once they learned how amazing this place was, they actually had a counselor call me at home, and that was really the what got me to agree to go because they were talking about all the things they had in arts and crafts and the theater. And then she said horses, and I'm like, "Ah, sign me up. I'll be right there." So that the combination of just of truly hearing about how well suited they were to take care of me, plus horses. I mean, come on. But at that point, my parents, thank God, were already like, we want her to do this. We want her to
Well,
experience what a normal kid experiences. I think that we were both all of us were so nervous driving up. It was from Pennsylvania to Connecticut, so a good like 7 to 8 hour drive. And I was a ball of nerves. They were probably a ball of nerves. And we go through, get into the gates of camp. And of course, it's this big grand entrance, and everyone is there to welcome you on opening day. And it's just, everyone just comes at your car. Like, you have no choice. You are going to love this place. And the second I got out, I was like, okay, this is slightly overwhelming. But then literally, I was like, see you, mom. See you, dad. You don't have to pick me up. I'm good here. And it was just like a light switch. But there was a huge, huge resistance. And I was really afraid to give it a try.
Wow. Do you see that a lot, Dr. Blaisdell, too, when you talk with families going for the first time?
Well, I love your story, Jamie, because you got to experience it from the kid's perspective, where you came in the gate and it was immediately fun, and you dropped your parents and ran. And what I love about Serious Fun, and that's a camp experience for many kids, but what I love about what Serious Fun does is that all of the hard work and preparation that we do to make sure that we're ready for children with serious illness is what I think a lot of parents are looking for when they're looking for camp. They want to know, is my kid going to receive those medications that you were talking about, Jamie? Are they going to receive them on time, at the correct dose, given the right way, mixed the way that we do it at home? Are they going to be able to access my kid's port or give G-tube feeds? What happens in the middle of the night when they have a fever? And the wonderful thing about Serious Fun Camps is that we work with families and the doctors, the medical homes of many children before camp very diligently to make sure that we are prepared. And so where you're coming into camp, and from a kid's perspective, that's what we want you to see. It's camp.
Mhm.
And then in the
Yeah.
background, there's a medical facility that is hidden behind the pine trees and the horse barn and hidden behind the zip line, watching very carefully and diligently. And I think that's where many parents finally do decide. They either visit us for a family weekend with their children to see kind of, what is this camp thing about? Can I trust it? Will my kid receive the care that they need while they're having their fun? And a lot of parents will have that experience, they feel like more confident in doing that sort of traditional overnight camp that you experienced, Jamie. But
Mhm.
yes, it's the diligence in the background work that is done so quietly, so that the kids can have that entrance experience and get on that horse as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, transitioning from being a camper to a leader in training to a full-time or all summer staff as a counselor, I that first, meeting with the nurses and the docs and the med team that you have as a counselor, and we like meticulously go through everything. We're up super late at night going through every single specific detail of every camper's needs. And my first night as a counselor seeing that, I was like, "Holy cow. Wow, you guys talked about us all the time." But we as campers, we had no idea. We just knew that, I mean, it just was seamless to me at least. And that's what's the beauty of this place, is it truly is a hidden full medical facility. And the nurses and the physicians there, they're part of the unit. They're part of the fun. Like, they come and do the fun stuff. It's not, they just don't see them just for med time. Like, they are integrated into the entire experience. And how beautiful for a kid who is so used to having pokes and medicine that tastes yucky and just these very transactional experiences with their care team, to be able to go on the horse with their like nurse who gave them meds earlier, or like go fishing with the doc that looked them over. I mean, I don't know how you can better integrate the medical community into a medically complex child's world.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, riffing on that from, from a professional's point of view, from the medical volunteer point of view as well. We know that it's healing for us to be able to see our patients be children. It's hard. It's our job to get kids through the hospital stays, the pokes, the procedures, but it's rejuvenating, and it regains our sense of well-being and purpose to volunteer at camp. And so
Mhm.
the the gift of being able to fish with a child that you helped through a medical crisis is as important for the provider as it is for the child.
It is so beautiful, and that's something that now on my perspective in the medical profession as a child life specialist, hear back from any nurse or physician that I work with who goes to a camp to this quality of they come back rejuvenated. They come back just full of life because they get to be a part of the fun stuff. And that's so important when we're in the trenches doing really tough work with these families and we see them at their worst in an acute medical crisis or situation. How amazing that medical folks can get this exposure to just letting their patients be kids.
It reminds me a lot of, like, when you're a kid and you realize that your teacher doesn't live at school and that they go home and have, like, a life and a dog, and your mind is like, "Wait, what?"
It's so
And
true.
it kind of reminds me, like, when you get to see your doctors and your nurses let loose and have fun and do a goofy skit at the end of the night, that is, like, such a bridge to the future of what your healthcare relationships can be like, and I just love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
It's
was at a
so
camp at one of our camps in, California, the Painted Turtle, and it was a camp for, pulmonary hypertension, and as you may know, this is a very serious can be a very serious disease. These children are often on oxygen, but there's a camper, doing the zip line, with the longest oxygen tube I've ever seen. So, from my vantage point, you have the respiratory therapist holding the longest oxygen tube underneath this child, on oxygen going down the zip line, and there is his pediatric cardiologist below the zip line in a tutu and a bucket hat saying, "Go, go, 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 go." I mean, and the family
Oh.
is right next to me, and one can't help but just understand the audacity of what's going on and that it's so much fun. And it's so much fun for everyone who's involved. It just is an
Mhm.
image in my mind that will always remind me of
Yeah.
why I do my job.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Those relationships with physicians and nurses and respiratory therapists are and child life specialists are so important in the camp setting. One of the other things that I know we see a lot from camp is just that peer-to-peer relationship of this true, like, I am not the only one. Like, you have to get medicine too. Do either of you have stories about some of the peer relationships, Jamie, you personally, or Dr. Blaisdell, what you've seen of kind of this community of campers that get to learn from one another?
I I can tell you that that camp was the first time I ever said I'm HIV positive out loud. And I was 10. So I had had plenty of conversations about it by that point, but like I said, I felt very private about it. I didn't feel comfortable talking about it out in the open at home, not in my family, but within just our regular community. It just was very stigmatized back then. And truly, that first night we have cabin chats, and that's one of the most magical times to just get together. And they're very sacred spaces where kids can just share. And like a lot of times it gets guided. Sometimes the kids come up with topics, but that first, by literally the end of that first day, I was felt so comfortable and so excited to be in a place where I could just be open and free that I definitely took it to the nth degree, and I was like, "Hey, guys, okay, let's go around the room, and can everyone say what they have?" And the counselors were like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 how's about first let's talk about if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?" Like, I was all in at that point because it was the first time I'd ever been able to just be open and safe and know that I could yell this from the rooftop and I'd be okay. But that and that's literally within a matter of hours that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then lifelong friends, I mean, I still have friends to this day that I was camp buddies with.
Yeah, and Jamie, your experience is happening, all across the network on our 30 camps and programs globally, whether it's HIV positive kids in
Mhm.
Africa or at our camps, whether it's a kid with sickle cell disease or any other disease that
Mhm.
isn't, automatically knowable by looking at a child, but that those children are carrying that diagnosis as part of their definition. And in so much of their care and their life, they are a child with, right? And so
Uh,
when we get to a place where we are a child with lots of other children, that have the same diagnosis or the same experience of carrying a diagnosis, it's easier to put that mask aside, right?
Yeah.
When I don't have to explain to you, you know
Mhm.
what it's like. You've been through
Yeah.
this process. You've been through the interventions, the hospitalizations, and
Mhm.
so it's important to for camps to have us to have camps like this so that children can put that aside and then get to the play, the therapeutic play
Mhm.
that they need, and they're no longer a child with, but they're just a child.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that.
And it's mind-blowing what camps can achieve as far as making things possible. When you think about kids, medically complex kids and families, they have to adapt to the world around them every day. And the world is usually not set up to meet the needs of these families and these kids. These camps adapt to the kid, to the family, and it's effortless on the camper's part. And just like we were mentioning earlier, Dr. Blaisdell, about like we can get the longest oxygen tubing that they make, and we're gonna let you zip line. The things that are possible are any and it surprised me, like, I had no idea that we could do this. I mean, everything from the pools that are heated to, like, 90 some degrees, they feel like bath water, but a kiddo with sickle cell can swim in it, right?
Yeah, right.
That's it is every single detail is built to meet the needs of these kids and families, and I think it just defies the parameters that so many of these kids grow up with of like, I have to stay in this hole, I have to stay in this box, or I can't do this, I can't do that. And one of the things that I will always love about Paul Newman, because of course he started Hole in the Wall Gang Camp in Connecticut, and this is all his vision was he wanted to create a place where kids could quote raise a little hell, and truly camp allows these kids to do that in ways that I don't think anyone thought was possible. And his his mission, his spirit, I miss him every day, but that it lives on. Every single person that works for camp, Dr. Blaisdell, I mean, you're carrying on his mission. And as a former camper, I can never express my gratitude enough for how camp can build up these kids.
Uh, I his raise a little hell quote is something we always keep in the back of our mind. And as we continue like to grow our 30 camps and programs, we now have over 2 million camp experiences for kids, and we serve over 100 conditions, 100 and even more. I don't think that there is a rare condition that could be presented itself to a camp, any one of our 30 camps and programs, that we wouldn't try to figure out how to turn that no into a yes. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, you as you were saying, Jamie, that's what we do. We don't
Yeah,
say no. We say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do it.
yeah,
Put you on, if you have to sit on sit skis, if we have to put a warming hut out, we're going to make it happen. And so that everybody has the access to this really powerful positive child event of camp.
yeah.
And now a word from our amazing sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Moog Medical. I want to share a story from one of our own Child Life On Call team members, Lindsay, because her experience truly shows what makes Moog stand out. As both a professional and a parent, Lindsay knows the world of pediatric healthcare. When her own son needed enteral feeding, she chose the Moog Infinity Pump, and the difference it made for her family was incredible. One of the things Lindsay appreciated most was the customization of alerts. Instead of the overwhelming alarms or confusing notifications, she was able to tailor the pump's alerts in a way that supported her son's needs and reduced stress at home. She often talks about how much calmer and more manageable feedings become once she could personalize the settings. And then there's the design. The Moog Infinity Pump is lightweight, sleek, and easy to carry, which matters so much more than you realize until you're using it every single day. Lindsay loved that it didn't add bulk or frustration to her son's routine, and as a mom on the go, the simplicity and portability made a world of difference. And something that gave her even more peace of mind was Moog's 24/7 customer care line. Knowing that real support was always available, day or night, meant she never had to troubleshoot alone. For a parent managing medical needs around the clock, that kind of dependable access makes all the difference. As part of our Child Life On Call team, Lindsay is proud to share her positive experience with other caregivers and professionals who want equipment that truly supports the child and family. To learn more about the Moog Infinity Pump and the full line of enteral feeding solutions, visit moogmedical.com. That's MOOG medical.com. I imagine, I know parents have to fill out paperwork all of the time, especially parents of kids with medically complex, but I can just see them filling out this paperwork and be like, and then this, because it's going to go towards something that's not DME supplies or this admission. It's like for a good purpose that you fill out
Yeah.
this paperwork, do all this pre-process so that your kid can go be a kid. Dr.
Mhm.
Blaisdell, will you and I'm sure we would need a whole other hour, but kind of walk us through what a parent who wants to send their kid to camp would look like through SeriousFun Camps, and how do the camps function throughout the country? Is it geographic? Is it by diagnosis or illness? Can you help explain that a little bit?
Sure. In the US, so if parents want to find out about more about our camps and programs, seriousfun.org. Seriousfun.org, go to our camps and programs page. You'll be able to search for a camp program that would meet, is near you. None of the camps are limited by geography. However, we have 9 camps in the U.S. We have 6 outside the U.S. And so none of those camps are limited by geography. And so parents can reach out directly to those camps. And all of our camps have admissions teams that are there to serve families in determining what camp would be best for them. Our camps run fairly different programs throughout the year, and each camp has a variety of programs that they provide. Hole in the Wall, where Jamie was, provides those traditional overnight experiences for kids. They provide family camps, and interestingly, now we're holding bereavement camps for families who have lost children. We have other camps who do weekend recreational ski weekends or after school programs. And so each camp has a variety of programs that they serve that parents are welcome to reach out to the camp and ask which one might be right for them. We do have camps that are single diagnosis camps, so that all of the children being served at that camp have the similar diagnosis. Sometimes family weekends are like that. And we also have multi-diagnosis camps for kids who can mix and mingle and learn a lot about other kids with other diseases. Importantly, I think as well is that our camps include siblings. We know that when a child is ill, it is not just the child, but the entire family that requires respite care and recuperation from that experience. And siblings are often the ones who are um, I won't say forgotten, but oftentimes they have a deeper experience of their siblings' illness than we even are aware of. And so allowing those siblings to come to camp as well acknowledges kind of the whole family, whole child approach that the Serious Fun camps take. But the bottom line to your question is that if somebody wants to learn more about a camp or program and whether or not it's the right program for them or might their child might be a right fit for camp, going to seriousfun.org would be the first stop.
What age do you recommend parents start to think about looking into a camp like this?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think, parents will have a really good sense of their child's developmental readiness. Jamie, you might have been ready before you thought you were, or your parents might have decided that you weren't ready for till a certain age. And so I think each parent should probably work with their team. I mean, we're looking in the 8 to 10 range typically for a normally developing child, but it could be as young. I've seen kids as young as 5 be successful at our summer camp, and I've seen kids, some big kids who probably should have waited a little bit longer until their teen years till they came to camp. But the good thing is that camp happens every year, and so you haven't missed the boat if you decide to wait another year. And so I do encourage parents to have conversations with their pediatricians, with their primary care team, and also the camp teams can help really let people have a conversation about whether camp is the right time and what type of camp would be the right camp for that kid.
That sounds perfect. Jamie and Dr. Blaisdell, I have a final question for you, and you may have already said it because I don't know what can top a zip lining um, Otutu getting up there. That's pretty amazing. Jamie, what's an experience from camp that sticks out with you? That is something that to you, like when you said when you think about camp, it feels like home. What are some of the experiences you have? And then Dr. Blaisdell, I'd love to hear one of your other favorite experiences.
This is gonna be a really hard one for me to answer because I have tried, and Dr. Blaisdell probably knows this too, that it is nearly impossible to communicate in words what the impact that camp has. I mean, when I say that it made me the person that I am today, I'm not exaggerating. It truly shaped everything about me and how I see myself and others and what I chose for professional career and everything in between. Um, Gosh, I mean, it truly was there it was a lot of firsts for me there. It was the first time I'd said I'm HIV positive out loud. It was the first time I ever felt comfortable enough to sing in public in front of people at stage night, and that, like, I blossomed into this extroverted kid now that's very insufferable as an adult and can't, can probably it's a little too much, but I got my confidence. I got my identity of who I was, and it is really hard to think of one particular time. I would say some of my most treasured memories are those cabin chats when it's at the end of the day, everyone's really tired and exhausted, and you're going to sleep, and everyone gathers. We light a candle, or if there's a kiddos on oxygen, we have a electric candle. Everything's adapted. Um, but just that reflection time and being whole and being a kid and having all of your needs. I mean, just those times and laying under the stars there are many times where we caught meteor showers, and it was like we would just
Wow.
grab blankets and go outside and lay there and watch shooting star. I mean, it doesn't get any more magical than that. And I can never do it justice. When I was writing about my story and kind of putting my experience into words, the camp chapter was the hardest one for me to write because I just I can't even come close to describing how impactful and majestic it is and
But you're
was.
you're
Yeah.
doing an amazing job, and it's like what I feel like I wish the world was like for everyone.
Oh, I it would be what a blessing if
We'd be too
everyone
happy.
had that experience. Yeah. 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 It's pure magic. Yeah.
As listening to you describe it, it is very hard to describe the power of the camp experience for everyone involved in the community. But there is something really magical and curative in that experience. That is why that people are you a camp person? And when you find a camp person, you immediately have this bond. And using that structure of camp across the globe, whether for the purposes of serving the medically intensive children, serving medically intensive children. For me, the magic is the potential power for change in that person's life, the trajectory, the sense of resilience, the sense of autonomy, the sense of that I am not broken, I am whole, I have purpose, I have belonging. These are the sorts of things we are learning that these characteristics that camp have are characteristics of what are called positive childhood experiences. And we know positive childhood experiences, or PCEs, are what put children on a more likelihood trajectory to be successful, however one defines success, contributing adults. And so that's it for me, like one of the pieces of going from just simply camp magic, which is amazing in and of itself, but camp magic for a purpose of healing and sending these kids into an adulthood of success and well-being and belonging is like the part that makes me want to cry every time I talk about it. Um, I have so many images that come across my mind when I think about watching this happen, whether it be the zip line experience or whether it be a kid getting on a horse just laughing and laughing and laughing. Or 2 weeks ago, I had the chance to visit our camp in France outside of Paris, and this is a little bit more of a complicated story. So the girl had sickle cell disease, and she was limping as she came into the health center. And after some evaluation, it turned out that she was actually not wanting to do the rock climbing event that was happening there. And so we were able to work with this child who had used pain as a way of communicating other desires for many, many years, give herself a new voice for how she's like, I'm scared, I don't want to climb that wall. And to say, great, well then we don't need to use the limping if that's not the pain that you're feeling, if the pain is really fear, then let's separate those two things out and talk about that. So
Yeah.
here, all of a sudden, we're starting to help a medically complex child understand that they can just have normal fear, um, that I would have as well, frankly, in climbing a rock wall. But we can find different ways to express that. So the kind of the social emotional development piece as well came out there, and
Yeah.
and what was in the back of my mind as a pediatrician, I'm like, yes, but what if she is having a sickle cell crisis?
Yeah,
Like that's what I'm worried about. And the thing about camp is we're there. We're going to
right.
stay there for 3 days. We're going to continue to watch and monitor her closely. And that's the piece that sort of the medical hospital behind the scenes of camp, that makes the whole magic possible.
The way you described it at the beginning, Dr. Blaisdell, about like a medical facility hidden behind pine trees and in cabins, that just is such the perfect picture of, I think, a parent feeling safe to leave their child there because they know they're going to be taken care of. And they have Dr. Blaisdell worrying for them or being on the lookout or just saying, I want this to be a great camp experience and I want to send this child as home healthy as they came and they showed up. And that's your goal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, well, I can't thank the both of you enough for sharing your camp experiences, offering your stories so that other families can get their kids to camp. Dr. Blaisdell mentioned SeriousFun.org, but as just a child life specialist, I would love to know how can we support Serious Fun Camps? Where can we donate? What are all the ways that we can make sure more kids get to camp?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't say enough about child life professionals. They have taught me so much in the course of my career as a pediatrician. And certainly it feels like we are both in the same lane when we're trying to fund confidence and belonging and connection. So again, seriousfun.org. You can either donate your time, donate of your money. If people would like to volunteer as a child life professional at one of our camps, we would love to have you. And so there's a spot right there for volunteers or donations to seriousfun.org.
That's perfect.
Or buy some Paul Newman salad dressing. That's another good way to do it.
That's a perfect segue. I don't Dr. Blaisdell, I'm sure you've heard this story. It's like camp lore, but it actually did happen. Katie, I don't know if I've ever told you this. Holloman was at the camp. He frequently came to the Connecticut camp. He had a little house there, and he would just pop in, and none of the little kids knew who he was, right? And he would just wander in, very soft spoken. He does not make an entrance. He just wants to see the joy and magic. Goes, sits down at lunch, and of course all of the food is like Newman's own products, so
Yeah.
really good food. Anyway, but so like the carton of lemonade, but and his face is on all of these things, and so he's sitting down next to a kid. It was called the babies, the youngest kiddos. They were 7, and this kid who's like, I think from the inner city, like like brusted in from New York, like sat down next to eat his lunch, looks at the milk carton or at the lemonade carton, looks up at Paul, looks back at the lemonade carton, and he goes, "Are you lost?"
Like, what are you doing
like
here?
the missing children on the milk bottle. Yes,
He's
yes.
like, "What is are you lost? What?" And,
Oh
like,
my god.
that is just such a perfect and of course and he was like, "Nah, I'm good."
No, I'm here. I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Amazing.
Uh,
Well, thank you both so much for being here with us today. Are there any other questions that you would like to answer or stories you were hoping to tell or points to get across that I didn't ask you or anything else we can close with?
hmm.
Well, this has been, I know it's just been such a joy, Jamie, to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting our community into this community of child life professionals and parents. I think, the more camp experiences we have, the more connection that we make, just makes me know and really, really, really know that we're making a difference in kids' lives. So, and to Jamie, to see you in the medical profession now. Just makes me so happy, and I'm so glad to have been here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I echo that. I mean, a camp family is a camp family for life, and when you meet someone else who just knows about it, it's an instant connection. And of course, that's I instantly felt that with you, Dr. Blaisdell. But just it's always a joy to talk about camp. I could talk about it for hours.
We don't have
And
that kind of time, okay?
so
We'll see
next
you around the
episode, part
campfire.
two. No, but this has been such a joy. Thank you for creating the space, Katie, for us to just acknowledge this
Yeah,
incredible
thanks, Katie.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. For those of you who are joining us today, I am not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I am a child life specialist. And the suggestions and tips and resources that I talk about with parents on this podcast may be great for you and they may not be right for you. So, the most important person you can talk to about getting support is your care team, your doctor who knows your story and your child's story. So, regardless of maybe what I mention or what other families mention here, we're not licensed therapists, we're not doctors. We're having a conversation about what the parenting journey has been like. So, please keep that in mind as you listen today.